The cold Chicago wind touched Daniel's face as he walked down the empty street. It was late evening, and the sky looked heavy, as if it wanted to cry with him. Daniel had lost his job only 3 days ago. His bills were unpaid, his rent was due, and he felt like life was closing every door on him. He kept telling himself it was just a bad phase, but deep inside, he felt trapped, weak, and invisible. He walked with his hands in his pockets, looking down at the sidewalk. People passed by him, but no one looked at him. No one knew the pain inside him. That feeling of being unseen hurt more than losing his job. As he reached a small public park, Daniel stopped for a moment. The city lights looked blurry, almost as if the world was melting in front of him. He took a deep breath and sat on a wooden bench. He didn't know why he stopped there. Maybe he wanted a quiet place to think about where his life was going. But then he saw something strange. Right next to him, on the bench, was a white envelope. Clean, fresh, and clearly placed on purpose. There was no dust on it, no dirt from the park. It looked like someone had put it there just seconds ago. Daniel frowned and slowly picked it up. His heart almost stopped when he saw his own name written on it. Daniel Carter. His hands shook a little. This was impossible. He had never been to this bench before. No one knew he would stop here. And even if someone knew, how could they place an envelope exactly at this moment? He looked around quickly. Only the sound of cars far away. Only shadows of trees moving in the wind. No one near him. He opened the envelope. Inside was a small white card with a short message. Your life is about to change. Follow the message. Don't lose hope. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. The handwriting was simple and clean, but the words felt heavy, almost too direct. Don't lose hope. It was like the message knew exactly how he felt. He read it again and again. Then something even stranger happened. As he held the card in his hand, a new line slowly started to appear like invisible ink coming to life. Daniel's eyes widened as the words formed. Look behind you. He froze. His breath got stuck in his throat. Slowly, very slowly, he turned his head. Nothing. No one. Just the dark path and the empty park. Daniel stood up quickly, his heart beating fast. He checked behind trees, near the pathway, even by the bushes. Nothing. No footsteps. No movement. No shadow except his own. Who put this here? He whispered to himself. He wanted to throw the card away, but something in him stopped him. Something inside him whispered that this was not a joke. Someone knew he was lost. Someone knew he needed help. But who? Daniel sat back down. His hands were still shaking, but he felt something unusual, something he hadn't felt in weeks. Curiosity. And a tiny spark of hope. He looked at the card again. The words felt alive, like they were meant only for him. He checked the envelope again. Empty. No address. No name. No sign of who sent it. For the next few minutes, Daniel just sat there, thinking. Was he being watched? Was someone following him? Why would anyone care this much to send him a message like this? And how did they know where he would sit? Suddenly, he remembered something. Earlier that day, he had seen a man in a brown coat staring at him on the train. Daniel thought it was just random eye contact, but now he wasn't so sure. Was that man behind this letter? He stood up again and looked around the park. For a second, he felt like someone was watching him from far away. He couldn't see them, but the feeling wouldn't go away. It stayed heavy in his chest. The card in his hand suddenly felt warm. Daniel looked at it again, and he noticed something he hadn't seen before. At the bottom of the card, very faint and almost invisible, was a small mark. A circle. Inside the circle was a tiny star. "What is this?" he whispered. He didn't know why, but he felt like the symbol meant something important. Something bigger than him. Something he was meant to follow. Daniel put the card and envelope in his jacket and started walking again. His steps were slow but more awake than before. Every street light looked brighter. Every sound felt sharper. It was like his senses were opening up. For the first time in a long time, his mind wasn't filled with sadness or fear. It was filled with questions. Who knew he needed hope? Who wanted to help him? And where would this message take him? He didn't know, but he wanted to find out. As he walked away from the park, a small camera hidden inside a tree quietly moved and tracked his steps. A red light blinked once. Someone was watching him. Someone knew he found the letter. And someone knew this was only the beginning. Daniel had no idea that this simple envelope would change every part of his life. But he was ready, maybe for the first time, to follow wherever the message led. The city lights reflected on the wet streets as Daniel walked, still holding the mysterious envelope close to his chest. His mind raced with questions. Who had sent the letter? How did they know he was sitting on that park bench, feeling hopeless? And most importantly, why? As he turned a corner, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out and froze. On the screen was a new message, though his phone number hadn't changed and he didn't recognize the sender. Take the next left. You'll know when you're there. Daniel stared at the message for a long moment. Part of him wanted to ignore it. Part of him wanted to throw the phone across the street. But another part, curious, alive, almost desperate, told him to follow it. He turned left. The street was narrow and quiet, lined with small shops that were already closed. He walked slowly, watching every shadow, expecting someone to appear at any moment. But the street was empty. Only the sound of his shoes tapping on the wet pavement filled the night. Then he saw it. A small note taped to the glass door of a closed bakery. It read, "Look inside." Daniel hesitated. He pressed his palm against the glass. The inside was dark and empty, but he could see a single chair with a small envelope on it. His heart beat faster. He opened the door slowly, careful not to make a sound. Every step felt heavy, but also thrilling. The envelope on the chair was identical to the first one, plain white, with his name written in the same neat handwriting. He picked it up. Inside was a card. This time, it read, "Help the next person you meet. Do not worry about yourself. The world is watching, and hope grows when shared." Daniel blinked. "The world is watching," he muttered. "Who are they?" He stepped out of the bakery, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. As he walked, he noticed a woman struggling with her groceries. She had too many bags, and the plastic handles were cutting into her hands. Without thinking, Daniel ran over to help her. "Here, let me carry these for you," he said, grabbing some of the bags. The woman looked surprised but grateful. "Thank you so much." "You're very kind," she said, smiling. Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in weeks, a warm rush of happiness. The simple act of helping someone gave him a spark of purpose. As he walked away, he noticed another envelope lying on the curb. His name was on it. "See? You are ready. Keep moving forward." The messages kept coming, each one guiding him closer to something. Daniel didn't know what. Each envelope led him to a new person in need: an elderly man who had dropped his wallet, a child who had lost a small toy, a homeless woman shivering in the cold. Every time Daniel helped, he felt lighter, as if a weight had lifted off his shoulders. By now, the sun was beginning to rise. The city looked different in the morning light, less harsh, more alive. Daniel sat on a bench to catch his breath, realizing he hadn't thought about his own problems for a while. He had been too focused on helping others. But even as he felt this strange happiness, a new worry crept in. Who is sending these messages? Why me? And what will happen next? His thoughts were interrupted by a loud honk. A car pulled over, and the driver rolled down the window. It was a middle-aged man with kind eyes. "Daniel Carter?" the man asked. "Yes, that's me," Daniel replied cautiously. The man handed him a folded piece of paper. No words, no explanation. Just a folded paper. Daniel opened it and found a map. A path through the city, ending at a hospital. Confused, Daniel asked, "What is this for?" The man smiled but said nothing. He drove away before Daniel could ask again. Daniel unfolded the map carefully. His eyes landed on a small children's hospital marked with a star. A chill ran down his spine. He had never been here before. What could the envelope and the map want him to do? He hesitated for a moment, then remembered the first words from the first card: "Your life is about to change. Follow the message. Don't lose hope." He took a deep breath and started walking toward the hospital. On the way, he noticed shadows following him at a distance. He couldn't see who they were, but he felt their presence. He realized the messages weren't random. Someone or something was guiding him, watching him, protecting him. As he approached the hospital doors, he saw a little girl sitting alone on a bench outside. She looked fragile, but her eyes were bright. She was holding a card, almost identical to the ones Daniel had received. She looked up and smiled at him, even though he didn't know her. "Are you here because of the letters too?" she asked softly. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Another person, chosen too. He nodded slowly. "My name is Lily," she said. "I've been getting messages too. They tell me to keep believing. Do you believe in hope?" Daniel looked at her and felt something shift inside him. He wanted to say yes, but he wasn't sure if he fully believed yet. But for the first time, he felt that spark, the spark that would push him to follow the messages, to trust the unseen guide, and to discover a purpose bigger than himself. And as he held Lily's gaze, he realized this journey was only beginning. Someone was watching him. Someone was leading him. And Daniel was ready to follow wherever the messages would take him next. The hospital lobby smelled faintly of disinfectant, a smell Daniel hadn't noticed until now. The chatter of nurses and the distant beep of machines filled the air, but somehow, it all felt quiet to him. His eyes stayed on Lily, the little girl sitting on the bench, clutching her card tightly. She looked no older than 9, but there was a strength in her eyes that made Daniel stop in his tracks. "You've been following the messages too?" Daniel asked cautiously. Lily nodded. "Yes. I didn't understand them at first, but they always show me what to do. When I feel scared, I get a message." She held up the card in her small hands. It was almost identical to the ones Daniel had received, except it had her name on it. Daniel swallowed hard. How does it work?" "I don't know," Lily admitted. "It just happens. But every time I follow the message, something good happens. Sometimes it's for me, sometimes it's for someone else." She paused and looked around nervously. "Like you, maybe." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. She was brave, yet small and fragile. And here he was, an adult who had lost faith in life, feeling more lost than ever. Somehow, this little girl seemed stronger than he was. Do you think it can help me too?" he asked quietly. Lily smiled, a little shy but firm. "Maybe. That's why we're here, right? To find hope." The words hit him harder than he expected. For weeks, he had felt invisible, forgotten, and hopeless. And yet, here was a little girl telling him he could find hope again. Maybe she was right. A nurse walked past and called Lily's name. "Time for your checkup, Lily." Daniel followed her into a small examination room. The walls were painted light blue, decorated with cartoon animals. A doctor was waiting, checking papers, and smiling warmly at Lily. "Hello, Daniel," the doctor said without explanation, as if he had been expecting him to. Daniel froze. You know me?" he asked, confused. The doctor shook his head. "Not exactly. But you're part of this now." He gestured to a chair. "Sit. You need to see this." Daniel did as he was told. On the table lay a small, folded note. He opened it carefully. Inside, he saw a message written in the same neat handwriting as all the others. "Sometimes hope chooses people who need it the most. You are one of them." Daniel's heart raced. He didn't understand how the messages worked, but he felt it deep inside this wasn't a coincidence. Someone, or something, was guiding him toward a purpose. Lily held his hand gently. "See? You're not alone. I think they wanted us to meet." Daniel looked at her, then back at the note, then at the doctor. Everything felt strange, almost magical. He had never believed in coincidences, but maybe there were things bigger than himself, things that could guide people when they were lost. The nurse came back and said, "Lily, your test results aren't great. We need to act fast." Daniel felt his stomach drop. He wanted to say something, do something, anything to make it better. But he didn't know what. He glanced at Lily, who looked calm, almost brave despite the fear in her eyes. "She's going to be okay," Lily said softly. "I feel it. I just have to trust the messages." Daniel took a deep breath. He realized the messages had brought him here for a reason. Maybe it wasn't just to help others. Maybe it was to teach him how to have hope again even when everything seemed impossible. He watched as the nurses prepared Lily for her treatment. She squeezed his hand. "Will you wait for me?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "I'll be right here." As the nurses wheeled her away, Daniel sat in the empty hallway. His thoughts spun. He had been lost, broken, and invisible. But now, he felt a strange sense of purpose. The messages were not random. They were leading him somewhere, teaching him something. And Lily, she had become a symbol of hope he didn't know he could feel again. Hours passed. Finally, Lily returned to the room, looking tired but smiling. "See? It's okay," she said. Daniel felt a wave of relief and gratitude he hadn't felt in a long time. "You're amazing, Lily," he said. "You've taught me something important tonight." "What?" she asked, tilting her head. "That hope isn't just something you wait for," Daniel said slowly. "It's something you follow. And sometimes, it finds you when you need it the most." Lily smiled wider, holding out her hand. "Then we'll keep following it together." At that moment, Daniel felt the first real spark of hope in weeks. He didn't know who was sending the messages or why, but he understood this: there was a reason he had been led here. And it wasn't just about him. It was about helping others, sharing hope, and believing in something bigger than himself. As he looked out the window, Daniel noticed a small envelope taped to the hospital's outside wall. The red morning light glinted off it. He didn't know what it said yet, but he knew one thing: this journey was far from over. Somewhere, someone or something was watching. And Daniel was ready to follow, wherever it might lead next. The messages weren't finished. And neither was his journey. The city was quiet that evening, but Daniel felt restless. He could not stop thinking about the mysterious messages and the little girl, Lily. She was still recovering in the hospital, and yet, something inside him told him that the journey wasn't over. Whoever was sending these letters had more in store for him, and he needed to know why. He walked out of the hospital, holding the card that had been left for him on the wall earlier that morning. It read simply, "You are ready. Follow the path." Daniel did not understand what it meant, but he felt a pull deep inside. He knew he could not ignore it. He checked the streets, the dark alleys, the familiar city corners, looking for the next clue. Finally, he noticed a small cafe on the corner, its lights still on despite the late hour. A single envelope lay on the doorstep, waiting for him. He picked it up and unfolded the note inside. Meet us. You need to know the truth. Trust only hope. Meet who? Daniel whispered to himself. He hesitated, but curiosity won. He entered the cafe. The inside was small and cozy, the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. In the corner, a group of people sat quietly at a table. They looked ordinary at first glance, but there was something different about them, something calm and knowing. A woman with kind eyes and short brown hair waved him over. Daniel Carter, she asked softly. Yes, he replied, unsure if he should trust her. Sit, she said. We have been waiting for you. Daniel felt a shiver down his spine. Waiting. Who were these people? My name is Sarah, the woman said. We are called the Hope Circle. Daniel blinked. Hope Circle? Yes, she continued. For years, we have been sending messages to people who feel lost, hopeless, or broken. People like you, Daniel. We guide them, not to control their lives, but to help them find hope again. You are not the first, and you will not be the last. Daniel could not speak. The reality of it was overwhelming. All the envelopes, the messages, the way he had been led to help others, it had been deliberate. Someone had been watching him, guiding him, testing him. Why me? Daniel finally asked. Sarah smiled gently. Because you needed it most. Because you have the strength to help others once you find your own hope. That is why we choose people. Those who are broken, but not beyond repair. Daniel's mind raced. All the letters, the envelopes, the instructions, they were not random. They were a plan. And now he was part of it. But Lily, he asked, thinking of the little girl in the hospital. Why her? She was chosen too, Sarah said. She has been receiving messages for months. Just like you. The difference is, she is young and brave in a way that inspires others. That is why you were brought together. You will help each other. Daniel's chest tightened. The messages, the guidance, it had been leading him to Lily. And now he understood, this was bigger than him, bigger than hope for one person. It was about creating a ripple of hope in the world. But, what happens if someone fails? Daniel asked quietly. Sarah's expression grew serious. Some do fail. Some give up. But even failure teaches hope in unexpected ways. You will not fail, Daniel, because you are learning the truth now. And truth gives strength. Daniel sat in silence for a long moment. The weight of everything pressed on him. He realized that the messages had prepared him for this moment, to understand the bigger picture, to see that hope was not just a feeling, it was an action. A responsibility. Then Sarah handed him a small envelope. It was thicker than the others, sealed with a small star like the one Daniel had noticed on the first card. Open it when you are ready, she said. Daniel nodded, unsure what to expect. He slipped the envelope into his pocket and stood, feeling a strange sense of calm. The Hope Circle had revealed part of the truth, but there was still more to discover. As he left the cafe, the city lights seemed brighter, warmer. He thought of Lily in the hospital, recovering but still fragile. He thought of the people he had helped, the elderly man, the child with the lost toy, the woman struggling with groceries. Each act of kindness had been part of the journey, part of the lessons he was learning. Walking back to his apartment, Daniel felt something shift inside him. He was no longer just a man lost in despair. He was part of something bigger. Someone or something was teaching him that hope was stronger when it was shared. And he was ready to continue following the messages, to discover the rest of the truth, and to help others along the way. At home, he opened the envelope Sarah had given him. Inside was a single note. The greatest test of hope is not in what you receive, but in what you give. Tomorrow, you will face a choice. Be ready. Daniel stared at the words. A choice. What kind of choice? He did not know. But one thing was clear, his journey was far from over. Someone or something was guiding him, testing him, shaping him. And Daniel was ready to face whatever came next. As he held the note in his hand, the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the buildings, leaving the city in quiet darkness. Somewhere out there, the unseen guide watched, waiting for Daniel's next step. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt it. Hope was not just a dream. Hope was real. And he was ready to fight for it, not just for himself, but for everyone who needed it. The next morning, Daniel woke up with a strange sense of calm. Last night's meeting with the Hope Circle had left him thoughtful, but also determined. He still did not know what the choice mentioned in the note would be, but he knew he had to be ready. He looked at the small envelope Sarah had given him. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. Inside was a card with just a few words. Go to the hospital. A life depends on your courage. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Lily. It had to be her. He grabbed his jacket and rushed out the door. The city streets were quiet, almost serene, as he ran. But the air carried a weight of urgency. This was not just another message, it was a test. One life depended on him, and he could not fail. When he reached the hospital, he saw Lily lying in her bed, looking pale but awake. Her small hand gripped a blanket tightly. Nurses moved quietly around her, but something in the room told Daniel that this moment was special, different from any other. He walked slowly toward her. Lily's eyes met his, and she smiled weakly. You're here, she whispered. Yes, Daniel said, kneeling beside her. I promised I would be. He held her hand gently. Lily, you're going to be okay. I'm not letting anything happen to you. At that moment, Daniel realized what the true test was. It wasn't about messages or envelopes, or even the Hope Circle. The real test of hope was his courage to act, to stay, to believe when everything seemed impossible. The hours passed slowly. He stayed by Lily's side, holding her hand, talking to her softly, distracting her with stories and laughter. Slowly, her color returned, her breathing eased, and the nurse finally smiled at him. She's stable now, the nurse said quietly. You did good, Daniel. Your presence helped her more than you know. Daniel felt a wave of relief, mixed with a new feeling, something he hadn't felt in a long time, joy. Helping Lily survive, being there when she needed him most, had given him a sense of purpose. He understood what the Hope Circle had been guiding him toward all along. Lily reached up and gave him a small bracelet, tied with a simple string. On it, someone had written, Hope again. This is for you, she said softly. So you'll remember, hope is never gone. Daniel smiled, tears forming in his eyes. He realized that hope wasn't just something to wait for. It was something to share, to act on, to carry forward even in the darkest moments. He thought of all the letters, all the acts of kindness, all the guidance that had led him here. Everything had a purpose. Everything had prepared him. And now, he understood, he was ready to become a messenger of hope himself. The next day, Daniel returned to the park where it all began. He walked slowly, looking at the benches, the trees, the quiet city streets. And there, on a familiar bench, he saw something that made his heart skip. A plain white envelope, waiting for someone else. He picked it up and saw the name written on it, someone he did not know. Someone who, like him, might be feeling lost, hopeless, and invisible. Daniel smiled. He knew exactly what he had to do. He placed the envelope back carefully on the bench and stepped back. Somewhere out there, someone would find it, someone would read it, and someone would be guided toward hope just like he had been. As he walked away, Daniel felt a deep sense of peace. The journey that had begun with fear, confusion, and loneliness had transformed him. He had discovered courage, kindness, and above all, the power of hope. He thought of Lily, the little girl who had taught him more than anyone else could. He thought of the Hope Circle, the mysterious guide who had watched and led him. And he knew that life, no matter how hard, always offered a chance to believe again. Daniel understood now, hope was not just a feeling, it was a choice. A choice to act, to care, and to continue the chain of kindness. And he was ready to live that choice every day. That evening, as the sun set and the city lights flickered on, Daniel walked through the streets, holding the small bracelet Lily had given him. The envelope on the bench remained untouched for now, waiting for the next person to be chosen. And Daniel smiled, knowing one simple truth. Hope is real. It finds you when you need it most, and it grows strongest when it is shared. The cycle would continue. The letters, the messages, the guidance, they would never stop. And Daniel was ready to be part of it, for himself, for Lily, and for everyone who needed to believe in hope again.